Hey guys, Promo1701 here, and today we are going to be talking about Evil of the Daleks, and we're going to be comparing a scene from episode 2, the original surviving episode, with that same scene in the animated version of episode 2 on the recent Evil of the Daleks animation release. Because it's interesting comparing them. Episode 2 has been animated, but the original episode 2 still survives, much like the 2 episodes of the Faceless Ones. I like this because it gives us a chance to compare an animated episode with its surviving counterpart, so we can kind of see their similarities and their differences. And it's great. It gives us an opportunity to see kind of what we lose with the animations. The animations are great. I love the animations. It's the first time I've got to experience Evil, and I love Evil. It's fantastic. I'm so grateful for them. Evil is one of the best animations we've had. But it was interesting when I was going back and comparing them, because I've said before on the channel, I love Patrick Troughton. He's a great doctor. He's one of my favorites. And a lot of his doctor is down to his physical mannerisms, his body language, and his facial expressions. A lot of his doctor is built in that. There's a lot of physicality into his doctor. And you lose some of that with the animation due to just the limited nature of the animation and because of budget reasons. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the scene of the second Doctor when he first realizes the Daleks are there. And it's interesting because in this original episode, you see him figuring it out over the course of the conversation. This reminds me a lot of the cliffhanger to episode 2 of the Moon Base, which is one of my favorite Doctor Who cliffhangers. When the Doctor's slowly realizing that the Cyberman's in the room with him, you see it dawning on him as he's doing that last little bit right before the episode ends. It's the same here, like when he's talking to the other 2 guys in the room, and he's saying things like static and inhuman power. You mentioned static, and he's doing a lot with his body language. You can tell he's getting more nervous and more uncomfortable. You see the look on his face as he's having the conversation. He's doing slightly nervous tics too. There's at one point you see his hand kind of working when they're standing over by the actual doors that lead into the little transportation mirror room that transports the Daleks back and forth. You see him, he's kind of working his hands nervously. And then he's trying to ask them about the static, but they keep cutting him off when they're explaining to him. It's more obvious that he's trying to interject and act about the static, and they keep just running over him and trying to explain without realizing why he's inquiring about static. It's much more obvious that's what's happening in the animated version. And then that bit when he talks about how they know about me. You see that look on his face when he's even pointing at his chest with his hand, which isn't in the animated version. And then when the Dalek comes through the door saying, "Doctor," that look on his face, he's like, "You understand now?" And he's just like, "Oh yeah, oh yes," that resigned look on his face. It's like it's a confirmation of his worst fears, but he looks resigned to it. Like, oh dear. And then that bit when he's talking about, "I will not be your slave," is very different. And when the Dalek starts asking about Jamie, you look on his face and he's full of questions, but he's also concerned. He's concerned about Jamie because Jamie's his friend. But he's also curious what's the heck's going on. You can tell he's trying to work it out. And you lose some of that with the animation. The animation's still good, but it doesn't quite pull the scene off as effectively. Not nearly as effectively. It pulls the scene off fine, but it's not nearly as effective as the live action version. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch both to see if you can see what I'm talking about. Here we go.
Everything you see about you here was constructed by us two.
To try to find a way of exploring time?
Yes. Now, this is my theory. A mirror reflects an image, does it not?
Yes.
So, you may be standing there, and yet appear to be standing 50 feet away. Well, following the new investigations 12 years ago by J. Clark Maxwell into electromagnetism, and the experiments by Faraday into static electricity.
Static?
Correct. Waterfield and I first attempted to define the image in the mirror and then to project it. In here, Doctor, are 144 separate mirrors.
And each is of polished metal. Each is subjected to electric charges,
all
See how he's working his
like
hand nervously?
repels like in electricity, Doctor. And so next Waterfield and I attempted to repel the image in the mirrors, wherever we directed. You mentioned static
See how
electricity.
nervous he
That was
looks?
our last experiment. Negative and positive electricity had failed, so we tried static. If only you could have known the powers we were going to unleash. Ours. In the middle of our
See
final
his body language, you can tell he's nervous. He's
burst out of
concerned.
the cabinet, invaded the house, took away my daughter. Oh, my dear fellow. My dear, dear fellow. But we shall win through now that the doctor is here. These creatures.
Watch his
We
body
had
language.
opened the way for them with our experiment. They forced me into the horror of time travel, Doctor. They ordered me to steal a box belonging to you, and thus lure you into a trap and transport you here, together with your colleague, Mr. McCrimmon. They knew about me. They gave us likenesses. What could I do? They said my daughter would die.
What do they call these creatures?
Doctor!
Now, do you understand?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Move back!
That look on his face.
Worked. We shall triumph. You will obey? You will obey?
Obey, what do you want?
We have your time ship. We will destroy it unless you help us with an experiment.
What experiment?
You will help the Daleks test another human being.
What sort of test?
Do not question.
I will not be your slave! Doctor, I beg you.
No harm will come to you if you agree. Where is your companion?
See the curiosity on his
He's in the
face?
house. I have done everything you asked me to. Why do you ask about Jamie?
He is the human being who is to be tested.
What do you mean? Tested how?
Silence! You will reveal nothing to your companion. Obey the Daleks. You are in our power.
What have you done with your infernal meddling?
See? Even right there, right before he said the "what have you done," that look on his face, that kind of panicked look. Now we're going to compare it with the animated version.
Waterfield here is an expert in certain technical matters, and I have the money to indulge my whims. Everything you see about you here was constructed by us two.
To try to find a way of exploring time?
Yes. Now, this is my theory. A mirror reflects an image, does it not? Yes. So, you may be standing there, and yet appear to be standing 50 feet away. Well, following the new investigations 12 years ago by J. Clark Maxwell into electromagnetism, and experiments by Faraday into static electricity. Static? Correct. Waterfield and I first attempted to define the image in the mirror, and then to project it. In here, Doctor, are 144 separate mirrors, and each is of polished metal. Each is subjected
You
to
can't see him getting nervous with his body language here, or working his hand like he does in the regular version.
And so next Waterfield and I attempted
You lose
to
that
repel the
building
image in the mirror,
nervousness.
wherever we directed. You mentioned static electricity. That was our last experiment. Negative and positive electricity had failed, so we tried static. If only you could have known the powers we were going to unleash. Ours. In the middle of our final test with static, creatures burst out of the cabinet, invaded the house, took away my daughter. Oh, my dear fellow. My dear, dear fellow. But we shall win through now that the doctor is here. These creatures. We had opened the way for them with our experiment. They forced me into the horror of time travel, Doctor. They ordered me to steal a box belonging to you, and thus lure you into a trap and transport you here, together with your colleague, Mr. McCrimmon. They knew about me. They gave us likenesses. What could I do? They said my daughter would die.
What do they call these creatures?
Doctor!
Now, do you understand?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Move back! Our plan has worked. We shall triumph. You will obey? You will obey?
Obey, what do you want?
We flagship. We will destroy it unless you help us with an experiment.
What experiment?
You will help the Daleks test another human being.
What sort of test?
Do not question.
I will not be your slave! Doctor, I beg you.
No harm will come to you if you agree. Where is your companion?
Jamie? He's in the house.
You can't,
I have done everything
you can't
you
get
asked
that
me to.
detail of the concern
You ask about
on his
Jamie.
face for Jamie and
Human being
him trying to
who is
work
be
out what's
tested.
going on.
What do you mean? Tested how?
It's still fine.
You will reveal
It looks
nothing
good.
to your companion.
It's great animation.
Obey
It
the
still can't
Daleks.
live up to everything Patrick does with his acting in person.
What have you done with your infernal meddling?
So while the animation's great, it is. It's one of the best animations, and I'm so grateful we have them because I'm not a person who can do recons or audios. I have to have the animations to really enjoy them. It's just interesting to be able to see how much better the live action story is. Although I like a couple of the liberties it takes in episode 2 in the animation, like when it does that panning shot around the house and stuff. That's pretty cool. But it is being able to make those comparisons is pretty neat, and it really does give me hope that maybe one day more of the more episodes, more of the original episodes will be found for this story. Because I like Troughton so much. I love the Second Doctor, and it's just interesting how much of his performance is down to the physicality of his acting. And it's such a tragedy that so much of his era is missing. So I just kind of wanted to do a video comparing those. So I'd like to know your thoughts. So comment down below and let me know what you think. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on a new video. I also have a Patreon if you would like to contribute to that. There is a link down in the description below for that if you're interested in that. For the entire month of October, anyone who joins at any tier level will have access to any videos I have posted and will post. Normally that's reserved for like a certain tier level and up, but even my entry level tier level at $2 a month will have access to all those, and I do have more videos coming this month. So if you're interested and want to check out some of the stuff I do on my Patreon, you can do it for as little as $2 a month. Most importantly though, thank you for watching.